Good morning, students. Today we're going to look at closing entries, which would be step 8 on the accounting cycle. Let me take you to the accounting cycle and show you where we are. Okay, if you come down to your accounting cycle that's posted under test 1, if you'll notice we have gone all the way around, and the last thing that we did in class was to prepare financial statements, step 7. Okay. Now there are videos on YouTube for all of these. I've sent you links. We're going to look at step 8. We're just going to do the journal entries today. On Thursday we will do the post those journal entries and do the post-closing trial balance. So step 8, part of that step is what we're going to look at today. Now let me show you the material you need from Wolf Den. Let's go to your Wolf Den page. Under your handouts, okay, handouts, I've deleted a lot of things that we've already looked at, so now I want you to go to your blank forms, okay. Okay, we've already done the journal entries. See if I can scroll down here and hold this camera too. We've done posting. We've done the trial balance. We've done the worksheet. We've done the financials, beginning with the income statement, owner's equity, and balance sheet. Okay. So the next page is what you need that says for closing entries. It's a sheet out of the general journal. For Thursday's class, you will need post-closing trial balance, which is the last thing in this set, a packet of forms. Okay, so go back and make sure you print out, or you can use a blank sheet of paper for closing entries, a general journal sheet. Okay, now the other thing you will need is to go down here, and I've given you answers for Net Solutions journal entries and posting. And I've also given you answers for Fast Forward's journal entries and posting. Okay, you need to pull up right now the Net Solutions journal entry and posting page. Okay, you do not need this journal entry page. And also I gave these back. I left them in my door for you to pick up, graded homework, so you can go back and pick those up. But you also need this form, which you had already done, or pull it off of Wolf Den so you can take a look at it. Okay. Now, let me give you a little background as to what we're doing. We've done the financial statements, and at the end of the period, there are 2 categories of accounts. Okay, one category is called permanent accounts, and I may have already mentioned these to you. This is a good multiple choice, so you need to know about this. Okay, these are your balance sheet accounts. That would mean all of your assets. That would mean your liabilities and your owner's equity accounts. Permanent means that we're going to leave those on the books until the day it closes. Okay, whenever the company finally ends up closing its doors is when these would be sold. Assets would be sold, your liabilities would be paid off, and anything that remained would be given to your owners. Okay. Now, but until then, we're going to leave all of these on the books. The other category of accounts are called temporary. They're also referred to as nominal accounts. The word nominal means in name only. And these are the accounts that we want to remove from the books with closing entries. And these accounts will be transferred to owner's equity. Okay? These accounts are the income statement accounts. That means we're looking at closing our revenues and closing our expenses. Okay. So revenues and expenses will be closed and transferred to owner's equity. Now let me just show you how all of this fits together. If you remember when we did the equation where we made all of the numbers positive, or even if we go back, let's go back to the original transaction analysis equation, when you had the balance sheet account, and remember in one of these equations it added revenues minus owner's equity, and I told you this is your net income, and the reason they tag it on there is it eventually is transferred to owner's equity. And if you remember to do the debits and the credits, we changed the expenses to a positive number and took it to the other side. Well, this is what we're looking at here, taking our net income, revenues and expenses, closing them, and we're going to transfer them to owner's equity. But in the meantime, we're going to use a temporary account we call it a temporary holding account until we do the transfer. And that temporary account is called income summary. Okay? All right, so with that information in mind, let's go and take your form for your closing entries, and let's begin. Now, there are actually 4 closing entries if you have withdrawals. Okay, so if you have a withdrawal account, that has to be closed also, in addition to revenues and expenses, and then we'll close the income summary. So just follow along here. Okay, let's go through the T accounts and identify which accounts we're closing. Okay, remember I want revenues and expenses. So if you look at the numbers, revenues are going to be the 400 level. That would mean that we're going to leave cash, we'll leave accounts receivable, we'll leave supplies, we leave prepaid insurance, we leave land, we leave the office equipment. Okay, all of those are your assets, so they stay on the books. Let's come on down. Accounts payable's a liability, we leave that. We leave this one called unearned rent. Now the capital account, we will work with that in a few minutes, but we're still not to the first revenue. Okay, we'll close withdrawals in a few minutes, but here's revenue, 441. Now for your homework, you'll have 2. You have fees earned and rent earned, so you can make one journal entry for that. Now to close this account, you'll notice it has a normal credit balance. That means if we want to close it, we want a debit here. Okay, we want a debit balance. So our debit on our closing entry is going to be to fees earned. Okay, come down here. These closing entries are always done at the end of the month. So this is going to be November 30th. Okay, our debit is going to be to fees earned. And the amount again was $7,500. So come over here. We don't have a little spot to put our cents. Okay. And then the account that we're going to credit will be our income summary, that new account that we created. So indent, remember your form, indent just a few spaces, and write in there income summary, and we will credit income summary like that. Okay, so that is our first closing entry, and that's going to be to close our revenue. Now for you, you will have 2 debits. You'll have fees earned and you'll have rent earned on Fast Forward. Add them together and do one credit to income summary. Now let's put explanation to close revenue. Okay. All right. Now that one was simple enough. Now the second entry you want to do, skip a line here. We always skip a line, but the second entry you want to do is to close your expenses. So let's put a date here. November the 30th. And let's go back. Now I happen to have this form already printed out. So let's go back and take a look. And we want to identify our expenses. Okay. We have a balance in wages, a normal balance of $2,125. We have a balance in rent expense of $800. We have a balance in utilities of $450. We have a balance in supplies of $800. And we have a balance in our miscellaneous of $275. Now, these are already on the books at a debit. Now, what you're trying to do, keep in mind, what we're trying to do is when we balance this out, we want a zero in these accounts. So that means we need a journal entry that when we post it, it will give us a zero. So all of these should be credited. Now, the debit will go to income summary, and we can do this all in one journal entry. We don't know how much income summary is going to be at this point. So let's just put the words down, okay, as a debit. And then when we finish with all of the credits, we'll go back and you can add them with your calculator. Okay, so coming back here, look at your sheet. The first one we want to do is going to be wages. Okay, so let's do our wages. $2,125 is going to be a credit. Okay. The next one underneath that will be rent, $800 as a credit. Okay. Next one will be your utilities, $450 as a credit. Okay. Come on down. Next row we have $800. We want to credit that. That's for supplies. Okay. Next we have miscellaneous, $275. Okay, now you've listed all of your all of your expenses, and they're all credits, so add up your numbers. 2,125, 800, 450, 800, and 275. That comes out to be $4,450. So that will be your debit right here, $4,450. Okay. And then you want an explanation. This is to close your expenses. Okay. So you've closed your revenues, you've closed your expenses. Now, the third thing we want to do here is to get rid of this temporary holding account, this income summary. Okay? And so we want to take this and we want to look and see what the balance is. Now let's just do another little T account down here. I'm not ready to start posting, but let's make a T account called Income Summary. And let's just, I think in the book they give it 901. It's a very temporary account. And let's just do the posting of those two just to see what the balance is. Okay, let's see what the balance is here. So if you posted your fees right here, $7,500 as a debit. Wait, I'm sorry. Sorry. We're looking at income summary. We want to credit that. $7,500. Okay, credit that. This is why we don't use pen, because look at what I'm about to do. That looks really bad. Okay, so income summary had $7,500 there, and then we just put as a debit $4,450 to it. Okay, now let's get a balance here. 7,500 credit minus 4,450, so subtract the smaller from the larger. That gives you $3,050. Now, I don't have it with me, but if you go back and look at your income statement, that is your net income. Okay, that's your net income. So now what we want to do is we want to do a journal entry to close that account. So if we have a credit here balance, we would want to debit to this income summary. Okay, so we want to close that income summary. Let's do number 3. $3,050. Okay, and that represents your net income. Okay, that's your net income right there. And we want to credit capital. C. Clark Capital. Okay. And this is done November the 30th. So everything's done on the last day of the fiscal period, if that's the month or the year. And this is to close income summary to capital, or you could say to transfer net income to capital. Okay, and that was done on our financial statements when we did the statement of stockholders' equity. Okay, so third entry is to close income summary. Okay, now the fourth journal entry is to get rid of the withdrawal. Okay, we want to wipe that out. So fourth entry, closing entry, is to close the withdrawal account. So skip a line here. We want to put November 30th. Let's take a look at the withdrawal, what kind of balance it has. Here it is up here, account 332. It currently has a debit balance. To close it then, if we want a zero, we're going to credit it. Okay, so we need a credit in our journal entry, a credit. And it's going to be transferred to our capital account. So it will reduce the capital. Just remember your statement of stockholders' equity where we subtracted it. Now here's the actual bookkeeping entry to show that subtraction. Okay, C. Clark Capital, we're looking at $2,000. We want to debit. And we want to close C. Clark withdrawal, or drawing, they call it drawing account. And this is to close the withdrawals. Okay. So you have 4 journal entries. First one again is to close your revenue. Okay. Second one is to close your expenses. Third one is going to be to close that temporary income summary account. And fourth one is to close the withdrawal account. Okay. Now we'll come back for the next lesson and we'll do posting. But what I want you to do for homework tonight, I want you to do these 4 entries. I want you to go up here and find Fast Forward Journal Entry and Posting, or you can use the homework page that you have. You did this one and turned it in, but you should be getting it back, so get it out of my box if you haven't. Okay, otherwise you can use this copy. I want you to scroll down, get the second page where you have the posting. I want you to identify the revenues and expenses and set you up an income summary account. And then I want you to get the blank form and do these 4 closing entries. That's going to be your homework for Tuesday night, so it needs to be done by Thursday. Okay? Email, text with questions. Take care.